Okay, so this is just a quick video on going over the quant exercise that was due last night that's been graded and scores have been posted. What I'm going to try and do throughout this quarter is to go through and just quickly talk about potential issues. So what I'm doing is I'm working from the key. Although the Google form looks differently, but it's the same questions. So let's just kind of move ahead. So obviously this quant exercise is dealing with you practicing that mechanical formula-based material from the chapter. Again, this did not count against you. If you got to all the answers right, it counted. You got an extra point. And since I'm not curving or anything, the fact that someone gets a point and you didn't doesn't make any difference. So let's just go through this. So the key thing is remembering remembering the formula. And in that formula, you're having to keep in mind always that it's the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in the price. This is often something that gets turned around because it's not a slope. Okay? So anyway, let's look at the first question. I need to go page. Okay, so we have some information. Economist David Romer found that in an introductory economics class, a 10% increase in class attendance is associated with a 4% increase in course grade. The key thing in this elasticity, and it's reinforced in the JIT, is you're looking at what is that independent thing that happens first and what's the subsequent impact. So that independent thing is in the denominator, that subsequent impact is in the numerator. So here, this is not a price elasticity, this is kind of a behavioral elasticity in general. So what are we saying? This question is saying somehow if there's a change in attendance, there's some sort of impact in the grade. So what we have is there's a change in attendance. So that's the independent action that occurs in the denominator, and there's a subsequent impact in the change in grade. So what you want, and the percentages have already been calculated, so you don't need to use the formula. So the key thing is 4% divided by 10%. That 10% change in attendance causes a 4% change in the course grade. So your answer is 0.4. You do not leave it in a fraction, and you have to remember the order. According to the grader, people were doing 10% divided by 4%. So again, this is a common mistake. You don't want to make that mistake again. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Next question, the grader said pretty much everyone got the calculations correct, so you can just look at the numbers. Again, my suggestion is when you do this kind of problem on a quant assessment, write out your numbers, okay? Even though there's no partial credit, it's important for us to help you figure out where you're making mistakes. As if you're getting something wrong with the setup, that's kind of a problem. If there's a problem with transcribing numbers or doing simple calculations, that's something just being a little more careful can take care of, okay? So the next question is, oh, that's right, I'm sorry. So the key thing is the interpretation of the elasticity. Okay, so this is something you're going to see frequently throughout the quarter. Interpretation of values. This requires a lot of practice. Use flashcards. I'll drill you in class, but again, this is not something you want to mess up because you're going to see it over and over again. So you do the calculation, you get a number. What do you do with that number to help with that interpretation? Well, that number is always over 1. And remember, this is a percentage. So in this case, it's percent and percent. So the interpretation is if okay, so we're talking about price elasticity. So if the price increases by 1%, we'll see a 1.7% decrease in the quantity demanded. So what did I say? If the price increases by 1%, then quantity demanded falls by 1.67 or 1.7%. I won't worry about the rounding as long as we can figure out that rounding that you did and that the number calculated is essentially correct. Okay, so this is really important, this interpretation thing. Practice it. Same thing, it's another, you're looking at another 2 points. Again, the grader said no problem generally with calculations. So again, we're going to go to the interpretation. You generate a value, and you always want to do the division. Do not leave anything in fraction or ratio unless it's over 1. So again, you got to remember with elasticity, everything's measured in percentage changes. So if price increases by 1%, the quantity demanded decreases by 0.6%. Do not forget that percentage. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Hopefully you kind of notice these things, but again, I'll just try and do these videos right after or shortly after the quant exercises due, so you can see something visual if the key is not always clear. Okay, good luck on the next one.